Welcome to Washoe County Library's Art Town Mondays with the Nevada Historical Society. Today's topic will be Early Reno with Pam Walker. My name is Beate, and we are going to feature different speakers and topics each week throughout the month of July, both at 10:30 in the morning and 1 p.m. in the afternoon. So don't forget to join us again this afternoon at 1 p.m. And again, welcome and thank you for joining us today. And a huge shout out to our friends at Nevada Historical Society for converting this in-person event to a virtual event, which has not been an easy feat. We appreciate their commitment to supporting our community with educational events like these. To learn more about Nevada Historical Society, visit their website at www.nvhistoricalsociety.org. And now I would like to introduce Linda Burke, and she will take it from here and introduce our special guest today, Pam Walker with the Nevada Historical Society. Welcome, Linda.
Good, thank you, Beate. Hello, welcome everybody. I'm Linda Burke, docent and volunteer at the Nevada Historical Society, where I have led school tours and been on the board of the Docent Council, a very large group of volunteers that help run the Historical Society. Today we are going to present to you Early Reno, but first of all I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Historical Society. It is Nevada's oldest cultural institution, founded in 1904 by Dr. Jeannie Elizabeth Weir, a history professor at the University of Nevada. She saw that the past of Nevada was rapidly disappearing due to the boom and bust cycle of Nevada's economics. She set about personally collecting all that she could to preserve its artifacts and print materials. By this, I mean, she wrote letters to old timers to record their memories. She traveled by horse and wagon and by train in her summers to collect and store items in her own home until 1913. She got company directors and politicians to donate their papers and their possessions. That is how we got the 20 Mule Team model currently on display in the Nevada Gallery. The W.M. Stewart Law Office sign also displayed. We have the oldest known photograph taken in Nevada, a July 4 parade in Virginia City dated 1862. We have newspapers, maps, and manuscripts. The Nevada Historical Society is located at 1650 North Sierra Street on the University of Nevada, Reno campus. It consists of a museum and a research library. Admission to the museum is $5 for adults and free to children under 17. Due to the current pandemic, it is best to check the website for the hours of opening and reservations for the library. The museum is open to the public on a first-come, first-served basis on Wednesdays from 10 to 4, by appointment on Thursdays and Fridays. The library is open by appointment only, Wednesdays through Fridays, 12 to 4. The forms are on the website, and of course protocols are in place. Masks and social distancing are mandatory. The NHS is currently collecting people's COVID-19 stories and experiences. You may submit these via the website, email them to our director, Catherine McGee, or mail them to 1650 North Virginia Street, just as in Jeannie Weir's time. Now I would like to introduce our speaker for today, Pam Walker. Pam worked at AT&T beginning on a cord board for the telephone operators, just like we have one in our gallery.
Yep.
And ended her career after 36 years as an outdoor plant planner in the engineering department. Pam resides in the Virginia City Highlands and enjoys exploring the West with her husband Larry and her 3 grandchildren. So here to present our topic for today, Reno's story, is Pam Walker.
Thank you, Linda. And thank you everyone for joining us. Glad to have you with us. Want to set the stage first for our Reno story. It's 1861 and the US is at war over states' rights. And at the end of the war, Congress had passed the 13th Amendment to abolish slavery. And a 2/3 majority of states is needed, of course, to ratify this amendment. Now, until 1861, Nevada had been part of the Utah Territory, and it separated from it in 1861. And Then Nevada is given statehood in 1864, and it's believed that the rush to statehood for Nevada was so that we could vote for ratification of the 13th Amendment. Now, the Grosh brothers discovered silver on Mount Davidson, but unfortunately, Hosea stuck a pick in his foot, resulting in lockjaw, and he died in 1857. Alan Grosh, his brother, traveling to California with an associate, bringing samples and maps of his claim, died of frostbite in the Sierras in December of 1857. But don't need to worry. They had told Henry Comstock about their silver discovery, and he was more than happy to take over their claim. He claimed their cabin and their lands as his own. So now word is out that silver was discovered in the Virginia City area. And in 1859, people from the East and the West rushed to Washoe to the latest mining boom. By 1861, Myron Lake owned a wooden toll bridge over the Truckee River and a log hotel on the south side of the river. The Countryman Families, these were 4 brothers who moved to the area in 1862, built the English ditch and mill, but they sold out in 1865 and left for Montana. They filed their homestead claims near Myron Lake and built homes near the river. Now, people had talked about building a transcontinental railroad for 30 years, and in 1862, Congress authorized the Central Pacific Railroad to build east from Sacramento and the Union Pacific to build west from Omaha to join in Utah. Pushing through the granite mountains of the Sierra Nevada took over 5 years of hard work, but by 1868, the track reached Nevada. By this time, Myron Lake owned a lot of the land around the bridge, and he helped convince the railroad owners to build a station near his bridge by offering land for the station and the town. April 1868, the Central Pacific announced the new station and town would be called Reno. In May 1868, they held an auction, lots in the town. And in June 1868, when about 100 new wooden buildings and shacks had been built, the first track and Central Pacific train arrived in Reno. Soon the town had a newspaper, a real school, and a new hotel. And here's the railroad tracks, the school, and the new hotel. Now the Central Pacific continued to build east, and they reached Promontory Summit, known as Promontory Point, in Utah to meet the Union Pacific. In June 1869, they drove the Golden Spike. Freight wagons were used to move supplies to the silver mines of the Comstock and to bring ore from the mines to Carson for processing. In 1870, the first Virginia and Truckee railroad lines transported supplies, ore, and people between Virginia City and Carson City. In 1872, the line had been extended from Carson to Reno, thus connecting Virginia City to the rest of the world. Reno continued to grow. A Masonic building at Commercial and Sierra stood until just recently as our oldest commercial building. Reno was made the county seat in 1871, and the courthouse was built in 1873. The county built a new iron bridge over the Truckee in 1877. School was a priority for the new town, and the Central School was built on West Street. And if you note this picture, you're going to see another one in a few minutes, and you'll see how it changes. Fire, of course, is a major problem in Western towns being built mostly of wood, and especially in Reno with its frequent high winds. In 1873, a fire in Reno wiped out 100 buildings, but the town quickly rebuilt. In 1879, fire burned 10 city blocks, and the town rebuilt again with churches like the Catholic Church, homes like the Lake House, now called the Lake Mansion, a mental asylum. A hotel was moved here. There's the mental asylum. A hotel was moved here, and an opera house opened that was very popular. Many businesses, a post office. There's the post office, and then an enlarged central school. And you can see how it added on this whole new section of the school. It doubled during this time. Now in 1886, the Nevada legislature decided to move what is now the University of Nevada from Elko to Reno. And Morrill Hall was built to the north of Reno. For 10 years, Morrill housed the classrooms, the dormitory, and the offices of the university. The Mackey family funded much of the development on the University of Nevada campus through 1937. Campus looks a lot different now, doesn't it? And look at the campus and the beautiful quad. And if you look to the north on Virginia Street, way, way up at the top of the picture, that's where the Nevada Historical Society is now. And all of that in between that and the campus here is all filled in now. So quite large. Now, mining in the Virginia City area played out about 1878. And the population of Nevada dropped from 60 to 40,000 during this time. And Congress even considered withdrawing our statehood due to the small population. Fortunately, the first decade of the 1900s saw the Nevada economy improve with the mining booms in Tonopah and Goldfield, with Reno serving as the banking center and the major railroad center for the state. Population of Nevada doubled during this decade, as did the population of Reno. It was a decade of building in Reno, from a library to a new bridge, the Riverside Hotel, the Masonic Temple, Federal Building, Belle Isle for recreation, as well as Coney Island. We had a remodeled courthouse. Looks pretty good. And then the modern city of Reno in 1908. Ranching was critical to supporting the mining in the Reno area. And you'll see many familiar names on the ranches in these following pictures. Hay, alfalfa, potatoes and cabbage, hops and onions were important crops in Washoe County. By 1883, Washoe County ranches had apple, peach, pear, plum, cherry, and nectarine orchards. And ranches raised cattle, sheep, and chickens. In 1904, Reno had a trolley that went to Sparks. I'll let them catch up with the ranches here first. Reno had a trolley that went to Sparks and later south to Moana. The automobile was the big changer of the lives in the economy of the US and in Nevada. In the 1900s, automobiles frequented the streets right along with the horse and the buggy. Automobile dealers appeared in Reno. And of course, automobiles required gasoline, batteries, and tires and repairs. And so automobiles became essential. Roads in town were improved to accommodate the automobile. And Renoites used their autos in many ways. Here's a business truck, a dump truck. traveling along the road. Now in 1915, the Lincoln Highway began connecting towns and cities across America. Some roads, though, were still pretty basic. Federal monies to improve and build roads in Nevada were a major part of the economy of the state beginning in 1918. Between the automobile, the mining booms, and federal funds, we changed the economy and the look of downtown Reno. Quoting from a 1934 article in Fortune magazine, Reno lies in Nevada's western corner, 10 miles from California. Population 18,500, elevation 4,500 feet, reputation bad. But why? Well, our bad rep reason number one, as early as 1861, the Nevada Territorial Constitution offered a 6-month residency and reasonable requirements for divorce. From the early 1900s, Reno's economy relied on the divorce industry. Reno was known as the divorce capital of the world between 1910 and 1970. By 1910, hundreds were traveling to Reno to establish the residency for divorce. And attention was drawn to Reno with divorces of famous people. The several thousand people who came to the state annually to obtain divorces left substantial sums of money and thereby eased the effects of the Depression. In 1927, the divorce residency was lowered to 3 months. During the 1930s, in fact, more than 30,000 divorces were granted at the Washoe County Courthouse. But Reno had to do something to accommodate its new residents, and they did that by building dude ranches, boarding houses, alley homes, for which the city had to change its zoning laws, and hotels. I'll show a couple pictures that we have of the ranches here too. Dude Ranch and Pyramid Lake. The Golden and the rebuilt Riverside and the El Cortez Hotel were all built specifically for the divorce trade. But at the same time, Nevada was building a reputation as a quickie marriage mecca. And the Hitching Post and the Sunset Chapel, were among those that opened near the courthouse, the bus station, and the casino. So they'd come in, they'd go to the courthouse and get their marriage license. They'd go to the chapel, get married, get back on the bus and head out. And stop at the casino in between. Divorcees arrived in Reno by bus and by train, by car, and by plane. So bad reputation Reno number 2. Prostitution was legal. And in 1937, a law was enacted to require weekly health checks of all prostitutes. But then in 1942, President Franklin Roosevelt issued an order to suppress prostitution near military bases. And that affected the red light districts of Reno and Las Vegas. Now, Washoe County bans prostitution and brothels, as do Clark, Douglas, and Lincoln counties. The famed Mustang Ranch is in Story County, but it's only 30 miles from Reno. And while prostitution is not licensed in Nevada, in 1971, the state passed a law allowing legal brothels in cities under 400,000 population. And each county is allowed to decide whether or not to allow brothels. Alcohol was considered a major problem in the United States in the early 1900s. And in Reno, it was women, the university, and the churches that were the drivers for prohibition. In 1920, the prohibition laws were instituted, But of course, we know liquor didn't disappear. It just went behind closed doors, made at home, built in stills, and given even through doctors' prescriptions. Then Prohibition officially ends in 1933. So bad rep reason number 3, gambling was a Nevada institution. And by 1910, with the push of the Women's Temperance Union again, the university and the churches, gambling was declared illegal in Nevada. But gambling didn't disappear either. It went upstairs, downstairs, behind closed doors, and gambling became legal again in 1931. See all these pictures here, they're actually during when gambling is illegal. Now in 1935, Pappy Smith brought a new type of gambling club to Reno with the opening of Harold's Club. And what was different was they advertised. And this was something that gambling establishments hadn't done before because they were afraid they would be shut down. Difference was Harold's advertised worldwide, and they advertised fun, not gambling. So they made it a family destination. Along with Harold's, Harrah's began offering bingo and later became a classy casino with gambling and entertainment. And North Virginia Street was the site of many gambling establishments. The Mapes, and you can see the Mapes, it's under construction in this picture way in the back. It was a hotel casino with top-line entertainment that opened in 1947 across the river from the riverside. And despite being known as Sin City, Reno was a great place to live. The population continued to grow and businesses expanded. And Nevada was tax-friendly, and Reno was the largest city in the state through the 1950s. Here's Model Dairy. And this one I love because Nevada had no sales tax, no corporation tax, no state income tax, no inheritance tax, and no thumb tax. So the state offered many advantages. Now the last map that we have here, we'll leave this one up while we're doing questions and answers. And this one shows present day Reno, and overlaid on that is the original Countryman and Lake homesteads. And the brown area at the bottom of the map was the original Lake homestead. And Myron Lake donated all the land north of the Truckee to Reno. And the core of present day Reno is included in these 5 original homesteads. Thank you very much. Linda, did you have anything more?
Thank you, Pam. One question, Pam, do you know anything more about Reno, how his name came about?
I believe it was because the railroad guy that Myron Lake negotiated with, he was a studier of the Civil War and of soldiers and officers, and he was a fan of General Reno, and that's why he named the new town, the new railroad town, after Reno. Reno had never been here. He didn't even know we existed, most likely, but we named the town after him because of the railroad person who was a fan.
Right, right.
At least that's the story I've heard, so I'm sticking with it.
Right. And I think that's all of the questions today. Anyone else? Beate, do you have any questions for us?
Folks that are joining us today, do you have any other questions? You're welcome to put them into the chat and into the comments section of Facebook, and we'll read them out loud. If you want to learn more about today's topic, explore the online Nevada Encyclopedia. You can access this from our website, washocountyllibrary.us, and click on resources. And if you, again, I already mentioned our virtual events, but also visit the Nevada Historical Society's website and check out all the other events at our various organizations. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Linda.